just enjoy it, really. I know there's a lot of teens who don't have good experiences, but I think it's what you make it. It's not the lifestyle that's bad. It's if you're going into it with a bad mindset, right? I think that if you're living this life and you're thinking, oh, this means, I can't have a high school experience, or I can't, hang out with my friends every night, then obviously you're going to have that negative mindset and you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to look back in 20 years and say, oh, that was awesome. Whether or not you really enjoy the lifestyle, I think that you really got to have an open mindset. And I think you really just have to tell yourself it's a new experience, it's a new chapter, it's a new page we're flipping, and just embrace it as a new experience for you to learn and for you to grow and for you to really get more out of your life.
For sure. Hello and welcome to the Teens on the Road podcast, where we talk about all the ups and downs of living in an RV as a teenager. I'm your hostess, Kayla, and each week we'll meet a new perspective on what it means to live this lifestyle. Whether you've been on the road for 6 months or 6 years, this podcast is here for you, to share laughs, to remember the hard times, and to celebrate the good ones. Stick around to meet our guest of the week and learn all about their story. Ready for the ride? Let's go!
Hi, my name is Benoit. I've been on the road 4 years, and I was actually born in France.
Very cool. So, I actually met Benoit 2-3 years ago. It was like the first teen rally, right?
First teen rally.
It was a long time ago. It was 1 year after I got started on the road. So you've been on the road a little longer than me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a long time coming, but we're like casual friends. We meet up at rallies and stuff. So I'm glad to have you on the podcast for the first time.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what's your traveling story? What got your family started on this?
So we used to live in Delaware, and we left Delaware in 2021 because of COVID and all that. We found that Delaware was not handling it well. We were under lockdown and all that, so we decided to pick up and go.
No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And then we basically just got our rig from Michigan without ever having seen it. Then we drove out there and went and picked it up. And then left like 2 months later. Sold the house in like a day.
Nice.
And then, yeah.
Wait, really? That's really fast considering what was going on at the time.
Yeah, it was a guy moving from California.
And to Delaware.
Yeah.
He thought it was better. That's interesting.
Yeah. Delaware's less pretty, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what does your dad do that you're able to just move so quickly?
He's a pilot, so what he does is like when we're in a place, he'll leave for however long his trip is. So say we're here, and then he'll fly out to Boston, which is where his airline is based. And then he does flights, and then he comes home, and he's home for a little while, and then the same thing.
So he's a pilot and he just flies wherever you guys are at?
Yeah.
That makes it easy. So when you first moved in, how old were you?
I was 11 or 12, I think.
What was the transition like for you moving?
Really easy.
Really?
Because really I had friends, but they weren't really good friends. And I definitely learned that as soon as we got on the road. They kind of disappeared. But I'd always liked like watching van life videos and van conversions and all that. So it was kind of really easy for me. And it's something that I had been wanting to do my whole life. So when my parents told me we were going to do that, I was ecstatic and so ready to leave.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes it easy when, like, that was for me too. It was like I got on the road and then like all of my social ties were basically cut. You know, it just makes it easier because usually the hardest transition is people.
Yeah, definitely.
So how have you done school on the road?
So we pick and choose curriculums. So like we have one curriculum for ELA, and then a different one for science, a different one for math, a different one for history, and all that. And basically most of it I do alone, but some of it's with my parents and my brother, just to be able to do it together and have conversations about it. And so basically I've just been doing school as normal in the morning and then hanging out or going on hikes and stuff in the afternoon.
So you've got kind of like a hodgepodge of stuff. Yeah,
definitely.
That's me too. I've got a little bit of books and a little bit of online school, and then of course the sightseeing, learning all about the country and such.
Yep.
Yeah. Does your RV have a certain setup that you love?
Well, our first one was a little small. It was good when we left, but it was a little tight. That one didn't have anything really special about it, but I did have a desk in the room, which I liked. But then in this one, what I really like is that we have a lot of room. So like we can work out in our room, we can do school in our room, both of us, and we can hang out. It's just way nicer. And then also we have a really big couch, so we can all sit down and like watch TV or play games together.
Just hang out.
Yeah.
And that's the one with the bunk room in the back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked your model a lot. It's well set up. Life on the road is amazing, but it can also be tough on your mind and body. Waves Health and Wellness offers homeopathic remedies to keep you feeling your best, from boosting your energy to managing stress and supporting mental health. If you're looking for a natural way to navigate the challenge of life on the road, practical homeopathy can help you stay balanced. Find out more with the links in the description. Okay, moving on to travels. Where was the first time you fell in love with a place?
I mean, I love everywhere we go.
Was there a first time?
I think definitely once we started getting out west, I started like enjoying it so much more because out west is just so open and pretty. There's so much to see. And there's just like so many places that are just, you can roam free. And there's a lot of boondocking and national parks and all that, which you don't really have on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's very different.
Definitely.
What about, do you have like are you like into Wyoming or like Utah? What kind of Wild West do you like?
Well, Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, really the whole area.
The Rockies.
They're all different.
Mm-hmm.
They're all different in their own way.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard to beat the American West because it's like a mini version of Europe almost.
Yep.
In some ways, because Glacier National Park, it's like European mountains and Alps and stuff, and then it's just beautiful. It's hard to replicate.
Definitely.
And it's untouched practically.
Yeah.
Do you have a place that you hope to never return to?
Probably Delaware.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really attach with Delaware when we lived there. I mean, obviously it was home for a little while, or for a majority of my life really, up to this point. And so when we left, I didn't really want to go back. I mean, we've gone back for like my confirmation, and my sister still lives up in Philadelphia. I mean, it's nice for the people, family, but aside from that, there's not really anybody that I miss or anything that I miss up there.
Yeah, it's Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am with Oklahoma. It's like Oklahoma itself, it's Oklahoma.
I mean, there's nothing in Oklahoma.
I mean, there's nothing there, but like half my family's there, so it's good to see them. But it's like, why can't you live somewhere else?
Yeah.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog. His name's Cody, and he's awesome.
How does he like living on the road?
I think he loves it, especially when we're boondocking or when we're out west where he can be off leash a lot. He loves just running around free. Like we did a hike in the rocks the other day in Moab where we could have him off leash, and he was just climbing on the rocks and having a blast. So I think he really likes it.
That's great. What kind of dog is he?
He's a mix of a bunch of things. He's like hound and pointer and a tiny bit of Bernese mountain dog, surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different breeds.
Interesting. Yeah, he is a sweet dog. Do you have any funny stories from Cody?
Funny stories. I mean, I have times he's been stupid. That's pretty often. But when we used to live in a house, he would run outside and just start running around the yard in circles. Just never stop.
Really?
And he still does it when we're on walks. He'll like run circles around us and eat the leash, because he just has so much energy and he's just trying to get rid of it, I guess.
Yeah. Have you ever like timed his longest?
No, but he'll like stop for a second and then start again and stop and start. He gets pretty crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I imagine. So for you, what is the hardest part about traveling full-time?
Honestly, I'm not one to like routine at all, so that doesn't bother me in the least bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing, I like it when we don't necessarily have a concrete plan. So I think those are the two biggest things that usually people don't like, but that's not really what bothers me. I can't really think of anything that really bothers me with being on the road at all.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You're just like 100% love it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there anything that's like hard about it that is different than if you lived like a normal life?
Well, I mean, obviously there are stretches where you go without friends, but I do feel like living on the road, you see your friends more when you're with them than like if you were in school, because in school you wake up at 7, you go to school, you get back around like 5, and then you eat dinner and have to do homework. You can't hang out with your friends. Whereas being on the road and homeschooling, you can just do your school in the morning and then hang out with your friends all afternoon.
Yeah.
Or depending on, what the schedule is and all that.
Yeah, especially like rallies and stuff, you can have like a whole week with your friends.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Which is like, and you get to know these people better than if you had years with them at school sometimes,
Yeah, and you have a lot of mutual experiences that a lot of people wouldn't have.
Yeah, it's like quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah. In your experience, what is the best way to make friends on the road?
Probably rallies. That's how I've made most of my friends. I mean, this week here wasn't technically considered a rally, but I still made friends. It was kind of a rally because, we did events together and
currently we're in Verde Valley and we had Thanksgiving with like 20 families or something. It was off the hook, but it wasn't like an official quote unquote rally. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, so before the original teen rally, like the first one, I had made just one, group of friends on the road. It was a family that we met actually in Verde Valley in 2021, December of 2021.
Wow.
So, because that whole year we had just been go, go, go. We hadn't been doing rallies. We hadn't been doing, really stopping in places. We'd just been going like to places for a week, or if my dad had to go to work for a little longer. But then we went to our first rally. It was the teen rally in May of 2022. And I made a bunch of friends that then I saw again in October at the Hullabaloo. And then rally after rally that we've done, I think we've done up to like 10 or something at this point. And I just keep meeting new people, and it
never stops.
Yeah, it gets much easier to make friends once you're used to making friends on the road, I think.
You have to become like practiced at it.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Do you have any tips for people looking to make friends on the road?
I'd say step out of your comfort zone. I'm not good at stepping out of my comfort zone. I've definitely gotten better, I think. But as far as I'm aware, that's going to be your best way to get new friends and get new experiences, because, it's obviously, even at rallies, if you don't step out of your comfort zone, talk to new people, do new things, then you're not going to be able to get to know new people.
Yeah. It's definitely important because I talk about this a lot on the shows. Like, you can't make friends if you stay in the rig all the time. You have to actually go out and make the effort, Yeah,
I agree.
You have to assume that you have to be the one to make the first move. How has traveling impacted your faith?
So I've been Catholic all my life. We've gone to church. But since we've been on the road, seeing all of God's creation, all of the beauty that he really made, it really got me like invigorated in my faith. And I really started like, reading the Bible a little more. I'm still not quite there to, reading it through, but I've been reading it a little more, and I've really been learning more. And I feel like since then, when we're going to church, I get more out of it than I did before we got on the road, because I also I'm probably a little bit more mature now, so I can understand scripture and I can understand the homilies and I can understand everything as long as the priest doesn't have a crazy accent.
Yeah.
Which did happen actually this weekend.
Really?
Yeah. But definitely it helped my faith. And then we've been alternating between going to life churches, non-denominational music, all that, and then
Like
Catholic
Life Church?
Yeah.
Like from Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I
And
used to
then,
go. I love Life Church.
yeah, the music is great. I feel like it's harder to pray and it's harder to really, have intimate moments with God.
It's a really busy church.
Yeah, and then whereas when you're in a Catholic church, which we do like 1 week Catholic, 1 week life, 1 week Catholic. I feel like in Catholic church you can have you have more time to pray. It's so much more peaceful.
Mm.
Although I wish they would have a little bit more lively of music sometimes because it does get a little bit tiring sometimes, the music.
Yeah, so somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, definitely.
So you guys go to church every week?
It's difficult on the road to go every week because, some places they don't have churches. Some places the churches aren't necessarily what you're looking for, or sometimes you really just are too tired from all the exploration. You did a crazy hike the day before. You don't want to get up at 9 to go to church. But we try to go to church mostly every week. It's more difficult when we're traveling a lot. And I like it when we stay in a place for like a month because then when we go to church, I feel like it's familiar. Because you can kind of connect with the priests and kind of understand what they're saying better. Like when we were in Portland in September, we went to the same Catholic church 3 weeks in a row. And I really liked, they had good music and the priests were awesome. I liked his homilies and all that. So I think that it's difficult when we're go, go, go. But then when we're stopped, like for the winter or if we need to stay in a place for longer, it's nice to go to church every week, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd say that's part of the reason you like staying places longer?
Yeah. I mean, usually I prefer not staying places too long except during the winter because it's nice to, settle down, catch up on school, especially if there's friends there. I mean, if you get to spend a few months with your friends, that's great.
Right. What is something about traveling that you have learned to love? But you said you've always loved everything about it, so I guess maybe an unanswerable question.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I used to really like travel days because I would just watch videos the whole time and all that. But now I feel like I don't really like watching YouTube anymore. I've learned to not like travel days as much.
Interesting.
But they don't bother me. It's just like I feel like sometimes I'm wasting my time.
Inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you usually do in the car?
So these past few travel days, I have this really good book that I've been reading, or this book series. So I've been reading a lot of his books. And then sometimes we do school. There's not much school we can do in the car because it's obviously a lot on computers and all that, and we can't have internet in the car most of the time.
My dad's been trying to get Starlink set up, so I'm like, maybe finally some school in the car.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
But I also like looking at the scenery.
Mm-hmm.
We mostly drive on back roads and country roads instead of the highway. So there's always pretty stuff to see out the window.
You usually drive on the back roads?
Yeah.
Really? How come?
So we're never in a rush at all. Well, sometimes, but usually we just take it slow, take our time and get to our destination. We're not in a major rush. And obviously highway driving is a lot more stressful for the truck and for the rig because you're driving at higher speeds and, it's a lot more movement as far as that goes, with potholes and all that. And obviously highways aren't exactly pretty, right? We're doing this adventure to see things. So we figure we're not in a rush and we like to take it slow. So might as well take a back road.
I like that. And you prefer that too?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's annoying to not have service if I want to look something up or do something on my phone. But I think that I get so much more out of travel days being on back roads than I would on highway.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually when we go on back roads, it's like because my dad missed a turn. So it's not as intentional, but I like how you guys travel. That sounds nice.
I mean, sometimes it's not missing terms. Sometimes it's the GPS that just takes you down the wrong roads.
Or like, why am I going on the 20-mile-per-hour road when the highway's right next to us, huh? Yeah, for sure. So has traveling given you any opportunities that you otherwise would not have had?
Yeah, so rallies have been a big thing, meeting new people, and then obviously seeing national parks. We couldn't really take trips when we were in school because it's, nonstop.
Yeah.
And when you're on break, you want to chill. And then also, there's been a whole lot of other experience as well. Recently, I started doing a community service internship with Speak Up for Kids, which is it's like a foster youth advocacy nonprofit that's based in Palm Beach County, Florida. And so we actually met somebody on the road who is a program director there, and she helped us start getting community service and doing a bunch of work for them. And that's definitely an opportunity I would not have had if we hadn't gotten on the road, because we never would have met her and all that.
Yeah.
And then, so one of my dreams for the future is to maybe start an RV company. I would not have found out so much about RVs and all that had we not been on the road. So I don't think that opportunity would have really presented itself, as far as I'm aware. That's something that, I've really learned a lot about on the road. And I think that it's definitely been a blessing to be able to learn so much about it.
Yeah.
And then also I've been, working to obviously better the RV industry. I've been thinking of things that I could do to help, make things better and improve. So when we got our new rig, it's a toy hauler, right? So the patio on the back, it's got the doors that, the traditional doors that come with toy haulers. And
the 3 seasons doors.
Yeah.
Like basically
the 1 season door.
Yeah, basically glorified screens.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, there's a way to make these doors better, because they're hard to open. And then on top of that, there's all these problems with it letting air in and all that. So I reached out to Morryde, which is a pretty big company who makes products for RVs. They make stairs. They actually make the patio in itself. They make a bunch of things. So I reached out to them. I said, I have a better design, and I was wondering if you would be interested in helping me bring that to the market, because we had gone to a rally a few years back where Morryde talked about how they work with inventors to bring their ideas to the market. So I sent an email. I said, I have this idea. I want to bring it to the market. Do you want to help me? So they answered, they're like, it's a great idea. Let's call to talk about how we could bring it to the market and how that would work. So we called and they asked me a bunch of questions, and they seemed pretty impressed with the idea as far as I'm aware. And so they decided to bring it to their engineering team. So this was like a week ago or two.
Really?
So I'm still waiting to hear back from the engineering team, but they're working with them to get it made, see if it's something that could work, because there's definitely demand for it. The amount of people you see on the road who replace those doors, yourselves
just like
included.
we took out our 3 seasons doors and we put French doors on the back, like residential French doors.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a demand.
Yeah, and then there's also one RV manufacturer that started making their own version of that door to prevent having to use that door that is low quality and all that. But I believe that seeing that an RV company is starting to make their own, there's demand for a new door on the market. So that's definitely an opportunity I would not have gotten even close to if we hadn't been on the road.
Well, that's really cool. That wouldn't be a bad way to make a little money either.
No, definitely not. No.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely giving you like the opportunity to be what's the right word? Inventious? Is that a word?
It might be.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you think you'll travel in the future?
So I mentioned I plan on starting an RV company, right? So I plan on going to college, getting a degree. I was planning on getting a degree in engineering, but now, well, originally I wanted to be a lawyer, right? That was about a year ago. And then I decided, if I'm going to start this RV company, maybe it'd help to have an engineering degree. But then I realized that, I don't really think engineering is something I wanted to fall back on, right?
Yeah.
Because I love building stuff, but if my RV company didn't work out and I couldn't make money from it, then there's a problem. I can't provide with my family without doing something I don't love.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to be sitting behind a desk all day just designing blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've gone back to the idea of being a lawyer. Obviously, it's pretty difficult to travel as a lawyer. But what I plan on doing is designing the first couple units and then traveling with them for a couple weeks or a couple months, to make sure, check the quality and check the floor plan, make sure there's not a bunch of things that, need to be changed. Because that's the big problem with the RV industry right now, is that they're not testing out their rigs.
Yeah.
They're just making them and saying, okay, that's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I plan on definitely traveling. I think it'd be really cool if I could travel with my wife. And think once I get kids and I probably need to provide a little more money, if I'm a lawyer, then we won't be able to travel as much. It'd still be really cool if we could travel a few months a year, or I'm sure there's some way to make it work. But definitely traveling is something I want to do in the future.
It just depends on your career path.
Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be really fun to see you as a lawyer, actually. I can picture it really well.
I'd be so good in court.
For sure, yeah. So do you have any advice for teenagers who are listening right now?
Just enjoy it, really. I know there's a lot of teens who don't have good experiences, but I think it's what you make it. It's not the lifestyle that's bad. It's if you're going into it with a bad mindset, right? I think that if you're living this life and you're thinking, oh, this means, I can't have a high school experience, or I can't, hang out with my friends every night. There's months when we're away from friends. Then obviously you're going to have that negative mindset and you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to look back in 20 years and say, oh, that was awesome. Whether or not you really enjoy the lifestyle, I think that you really got to have an open mindset. And if you're about to leave and you're not necessarily wanting to leave, then I think you really just have to tell yourself it's a new experience, it's a new chapter, it's a new page we're flipping, and just embrace it as a new experience for you to learn and for you to grow and for you to really get more out of your life.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So basically just live in the moment and
definitely
enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, and step out of your comfort zone too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I also have trouble with. I mean, it's difficult, right? Because you need to really change who you are to be able to step out of your comfort zone. Because if you're an introverted person, you're not going to step out of your comfort zone most of the time and meet new people.
It's like how comfortable are you in your comfort zone?
Yeah,
and how
definitely.
willing are you to make a change in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Really, because all change comes from stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you're on the road, be ready for plans to change and for
sure.
nothing to go exactly as planned.
Or as planned at all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we said we were going to be on the road for a year.
Everybody says that.
Yes. We were like, we're going to be on the road for a year and we're going to find land at the end of that year.
4 years later.
4 years later, we're still on the road.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful lifestyle and you learn to love it really quickly, even if you go into it not wanting to travel. For sure.
So before we wrap up, do you have any closing thoughts or questions for me?
What inspired you to start the podcast?
What inspired me to start the podcast? So I started the podcast, it was about 2 or 3 months before the first teen rally, actually. I had been on the road for less than a year, and I just noticed that, I don't know if you remember, but before the teen rallies, there was just very little teen community on the road.
I mean, we hadn't really been to rallies before, but yeah, I think the teen rallies were really awesome to just get, teens, because even at Madison and Hullabaloo and all these rallies, it's a lot of kid events.
It's a lot of little kids. And that's kind of what Fulltime Families rallies were like. It was just like hangouts and maybe big rallies, but there wasn't anything for teens. And I noticed that, and it had been almost a year, and I had only made one teen friend on the road, and that was hard. It was a hard year.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I know other teenagers who live on the road. I know that they exist. So like, why don't I, bring them together? Why don't I talk to them?
Definitely.
So it was half a way for me to make new friends and half a way for me to just have a project and share stories with the world.
Nice.
Yeah. My short answer. Do you have a question for our next guest?
I'm not going to ask what is your favorite?
Yeah, I know.
No, those questions are horrible. Do you prefer hot or cold climates?
I like that one. Okay, from our last episode, it was Asher Weed, or the last person I recorded with, and he's wondering, what's the most interesting food you've had while on your travels?
Oh, so we don't eat out very much, right? Because we cook a lot, and so I'd like to say I have a very diversified palate. We eat a lot of different stuff on the road, but I'd say eating out, it's gotta have been, I gotta say I'd never had fried pickles before we went to Nashville.
Really?
And I love fried pickles so much.
Is the most interesting one?
It's not the most interesting, but it's the most interesting I can think of right now.
Okay, gotcha. What do they taste like? Like, is it breaded?
Yeah, it's like a breaded pickle. Like a pickle slice.
Yeah.
And then it's fried. It's really good. I love pickles.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm a pickle maniac.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If you liked this episode, feel free to subscribe so you never miss one. If you'd like to connect with us, follow us on Instagram and feel free to reach out with any questions or feedback. And don't forget to leave us a review on your streaming service of choice. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. If you're a traveling teen interested in being a guest star on the show, fill out our form and we'll get back to you soon. This episode was sponsored by Waves Health and Wellness. Find out more at waveshealthandwellness.com. Our intro song was created for Teens on the Road by Mila Rose, and you can follow her Instagram at Mila Rose Sings. Special thank you to our guest of the day, Benoit. Follow his adventures on Instagram at Benoit Harpey. Thank you again for listening, and see you down the road.